What if I told you that for nearly a quarter of a century, a woman lived hidden from the world, locked in a basement, cut off from sunlight, friends, and freedom, not by a stranger, but by her own father? This is not a horror movie. This is the real-life story of Josef Fritzl, one of Europe's most infamous criminals, whose crimes shook the world and changed how we view evil forever. Austria, 1984. In a quiet town called Amstetten lived Josef Fritzl, a man who, at first glance, seemed perfectly normal. He was an engineer, a husband, and a father. His neighbors saw him as strict but hardworking. No one could have guessed that behind his walls, and beneath them, was a dungeon that would soon become the stage of one of the darkest crimes in modern history. Outwardly, Josef appeared to live a normal life. He was married, had children, and maintained his public image. But Josef had been planning something sinister for years. In the late 1970s, he began constructing a hidden cellar beneath his house. The construction looked like a typical basement, but what he was building was far from normal. Reinforced concrete walls, a heavy, soundproof door, a labyrinth of small, windowless rooms. It wasn't a storage basement, it was a prison. In 1984, Josef's daughter Elisabeth was 18 years old. She was young, curious, and wanted a normal life like any teenager, but her father had other plans. One day, Josef asked Elisabeth to help him carry a door down to the basement. She trusted him. After all, he was her father. But once inside, Josef locked the door behind her. That moment changed Elisabeth's life forever. To the outside world, Elisabeth had disappeared. Josef told police and neighbors that she had run away, possibly joined a cult. He even produced fake letters, supposedly written by Elisabeth, to keep suspicion away. And for 24 years, people believed his lies. Elisabeth's world shrank to a few small rooms with no windows, no sunlight, and no way out. She had a bed, a sink, a toilet, and very little space to move. Josef controlled everything: food, water, even light. But the horror didn't stop there. Josef repeatedly abused her. Over the years, Elisabeth gave birth to 7 children inside that basement. Imagine giving birth without doctors, without hospitals, without help, just in the darkness, with your abuser as the only support. 3 of those children were taken upstairs by Josef and his wife, who raised them as their own under the belief, or at least the pretense, that Elisabeth had abandoned them. The other children remained trapped with their mother underground. For the children born in captivity, life was unimaginable. Some of them had never seen the sun. They didn't know what the outside world looked like. They lived in a cycle of fear, silence, and hopelessness. One of the most heartbreaking details is how Elisabeth tried to create some normalcy for her children. She taught them how to read and write using old books. She tried to protect them from the full horror of their reality. But no matter how hard she tried, the truth remained: they were prisoners of their own grandfather. In 2008, after 24 years in captivity, a dramatic event forced Josef's nightmare to unravel. One of Elisabeth's children, a teenage girl named Kirsten, became gravely ill. Her condition worsened so much that Josef had no choice but to take her to the hospital. Doctors were alarmed. The girl's health was extremely poor, and her background story made no sense. They demanded answers. For the first time, authorities began to doubt Josef's story about Elisabeth running away. When police launched their investigation, they questioned Josef. At first, he stuck to his old lies, but under pressure, Elisabeth, finally freed temporarily to help her daughter, told the truth. She revealed everything. 24 years in captivity, repeated abuse, 7 children, a hidden basement dungeon. Police raided the house, and what they discovered left even seasoned officers in shock. The cramped, windowless rooms told a story of decades of suffering. Josef Fritzl was arrested in April 2008. his trial drew global attention. In court, Elisabeth was finally able to face her father, not as a victim trapped in silence, but as a survivor ready to speak the truth. The evidence was undeniable. In 2009, Josef Fritzl was sentenced to life imprisonment. He was found guilty of multiple crimes: rape, incest, kidnapping, false imprisonment, enslavement, neglect leading to the death of one infant. He will spend the rest of his life behind bars. The Fritzl case shook Europe and the world like few criminal cases ever have. How could such a crime remain hidden for so long? How could neighbors, relatives, even Joseph's wife, fail to see what was happening right under their feet? The case sparked global discussions about family abuse, secrecy, and the dark side of human psychology. It also raised urgent questions about how society can better protect vulnerable people and how evil can hide in plain sight. What makes Josef Fritzl's case so terrifying is not only the crime itself, but the psychology behind it. He wasn't an outsider, a stranger, or a masked villain. He was a father, a husband, a neighbor. Evil didn't wear a mask. It wore the face of an ordinary man. Psychologists later described Fritzl as a controlling, narcissistic, and manipulative personality, a man who wanted absolute power, even over his own family. His crimes are a chilling reminder that true horror doesn't always come from monsters in movies. Sometimes it comes from the people closest to us. Despite unimaginable suffering, Elisabeth's story is also one of resilience. She survived 24 years in captivity. She raised her children in impossible conditions. She protected them as best as she could. And when freedom finally came, she had the courage to speak up, to tell her story, and to rebuild her life. The Josef Fritzl case is not just a story about one criminal. It is a lesson for the world. It teaches us that evil can hide behind ordinary walls, that sometimes the people we trust most can betray us in the worst ways. But it also teaches us about the strength of survival, the resilience of the human spirit, and the importance of never ignoring signs of abuse. What do you think about the Josef Fritzl case? Do you believe society could have uncovered the truth earlier? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more true crime stories that expose the darkest corners of human nature, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon, because the world is full of secrets, and together we will uncover them.